bit more.
Brass starting to move in.
Not happening though. Now Mage Pride down to 2 players.
When necessary,
but now all 4 of them are getting to grasp with it. They're coming out swinging into day 2. The smoke screen ahead of them fighting downhill. Redface peaks up with anger as he'll battle back onto 1. Takes out Mythic, readjusts with the SMG, peppering bullets towards the tree. Chief waiting for the attack. Nades exchanged as the Molotov burns the grass all around him. He's got to do something quick on this. Tries to close the distance blank. The double pump comes out and takes down Redface.
I mean, that was a nice play there from him, trying to get the nade, trying to get the utility through, but I think Redface, with the mechanical skill he's got on board, probably could have just gone for the dry fight there between him, but a lot of players on that side from Loops does make a lot of commotion happen. Madball's looking for some more, though. Zuxi gets knocked out there from them. Just misery now from Pmgc Evos, trying to push this game as far as they can, but it is Chief, once again, to lock it down on this upper side.
The big chieftain, he's got the lay of the land right now. Everyone is following his rules. He is giving it the big one. Nerzed with a nade as well, dashing it out, and they're feeling the pain. DX just getting demolished right now. Tops and Nerzed blank. They want to top those stats once again. The crash comes in. Look at him go. He's an absolute lunatic. He is in their grill.
Up front and personal, has a shotgun to work with, gets sent around the side though and is dealt. Honestly though, the confidence coming through from this lad is off the charts. It's almost unacceptable behavior what he's pulling out here. Frozen peeks out for a second, but now position known. 3 teams remaining, 2 at 4 players alive, but DX all trapped in the shack. It's not looking too happy. I go lucky for this team, and Madball's right at the bottom of the hill. They've got a long climb upwards. Let's see if they can pull it off.
Madball's, they're low on util. They don't have too much to work with in terms of defensive utility. You're looking at the smoke count and it's at a dead 0. DX grouped up, all of them together. Sure, that can be effective for trades, but a single nade could blow their hopes and dreams away in a spot like this. Chief and Co. watching downhill as well. Loops, they've got a good split here. Nice comms, able to focus on both team pushes at once so they can put bullets down range onto Madballs from a distance with the DMRs and keep DX trapped in position, playing this one out to try and take them down in a raw team fight if they could finish Madballs.
Circle moves down the hill though. A great little blessing for both the Madballs and DX. But like you say, a nade could spell absolute disaster for the guys on DX. There's still 12 in the back pocket. 5 Molotov to burn them out of position. For Madballs, they're slowly but surely just losing more members. Try to go in for the rescue, for the save over towards Tulika. But Loops still aren't having none of it. They have got such good control over this map. Just absolutely clutching both teams by the neck right now. So hard to do anything.
Tulika gets licked up. Man's gone for good on that one. And it gets a whole lot harder to play off the back of this now. Madballs, number DX. They've been sitting pretty this entire time, just playing off of one another. A single nade could be the difference of you being even in this situation at all anymore. Lamborghini was the only one that had pushed slightly further forward, but now they're starting to fan out a little bit, trying to encroach a little bit more out of their comfort zone. Chief's attention taken by Madballs. All the time in the world on this one.
I think Loops realise just how much of a danger Madballs are to them because they can't really effectively assault this location. If a case of Madballs are able to take shots of them as they push inwards, but Chua makes a terrible mistake, just laid down outside the shack, visible. Fleeke still, once again, hitting some mad shots over towards Mythic, who has been holding them down this spot for a long time. Right now, he's struggling to peek outwards. Lamborghini, similarly, trying to get Chua into a position where they can pick him back up again. That nade scarily close to the small windowsill to move through, but that one will take down Chua. But there is a knock in return.
It's a big trade back, actually. This could give them a leg to stand on. This could give you an opportunity to fight. Look at the nades coming out. One by one, dashing them in, trying to keep them uncomfortable, playing off the back of the timing. They know that he's got to reload eventually, forced to fall back because of the contact with the nade blank. They silence him. He's gone. Space being taken now. Lamborghini flanking towards the right.
Biding their time, locking this one up. just waiting for them to get close to us to send these nades through. But it's Mad Bulls. Fleek, he's still in the picture right now. Frozen underneath. He's at the barest edge of the circle, has to push in as the circle moves back up towards that northern side. Loops, as well as DX, still locked in combat. Mythic, desperately trying to take care of these players underneath, but they have held on for so long. Unluckily, though, Frozen is now down. I think Fleek might be next. They go out with 9 eliminations. Now, it's between Loops and DX, both looking for a higher prize on the tables, but an amazing nade from Isla will strike down 2.
Levi's has got to clutch it. It's all down to this man now. What level of lethality can Levi's pull out? Look at the peaks. He's slick with it, but he's not slick enough as Mythic will claim it and Loops lock it down with a chicken dinner as the high fives come out. They can celebrate on that one.
Mythic with a mythical moment there, down to 0 HP, but still on trucking. What a game from Loops, honestly. Holding on to that higher ground, not easy at all, but I've got to really give props to DX from that situation. That is not an easy position to play. It's not an easy spot to hold out in, and they waited for as long as possible until it was at the most uncomfortable it could be, like a humid room in summer, yet they still waited until they could hit those nades. And it really could have told a very, very different story. All the while, though, Mythic's holding on to Mad Bulls, trusting in the rest of this team. And I think this is a well-deserved victory for Loops. And it's been a long time coming because, like I said, this team's just quietly consistent, Jackie.
They really are. You can see though, Blank, they play their own game. And I think that's one of the big reasons why they've been able to find that win there, right? You know, you're not falling into a trap. You're not being baited into misplays. Very confident decision-making, clean comms. Again, this is another side here at Pmgc that is proving to us communication is really key right now, and they've got it down. A lot of faith in one another when it comes to holding angles. A lot of faith in not over-rotating. And also, if Chief's doing that amount of damage, well, that does help too.
And I mean, this is not an easy game for them whatsoever either. You just look at the damage received on their side. You know, we're up towards the 300s for every single player on this team. So they've had to fight tooth and nail to get towards this end game. I mean, a lot of that probably was the utility used from DX towards that late part of the stage of the match. But all in all, I think a fantastic game from Loops. 46,000.
34 grenades.
That's crazy. And 34 nades used. I mean, they were definitely squeezing every ounce out of those throwables. I mean, 28 minutes as well, full squad time. And I mean, again, it's those team fights they took. They kept it clean. They kept all players up, and they were careful with it. Often pushing in towards Gladiators, then moving back out again as they spotted a threat on that northern side, constantly keeping their backs clear. It's just a nice game overall coming through from Loops.
Man, Loops, they must have had the tactical fashion on, Blank. There's no way they had enough pockets for all of these grenades. 34 grenades. Where are they putting them? They've got a backpack. They've got a man sack. They've got it all. They're just covered in grenades. But that's unbelievable. A big game for them, really. And I think, you know, it goes to show, even yesterday, we were talking about how impressive Loops were at certain times when it felt like 1 or 2 players would pop off. Here, we saw them in unison. Here, we saw them playing like a team, and they go above and beyond to secure their first chicken dinner. Let's get back over to the desk then to break it down, as we've seen some LATAM lunacy in Game 2.
Brazil showing up big here, man. Loops crushed that game. One of the best performances we've seen so far. It's so crazy to see them pull up so many eliminations and that not be the most eliminations we've seen so far in this tournament. And this is match number 2 already. Things are starting off hot here, Colars.
Yeah, we picked the wrong Brazilian team to back, apparently, at the beginning of the day. Obviously, we were all on the Alpha 7 hype train. But, I mean, Loops on Erangel looks fantastic. Whether it's them having to deal with that military drop, where they didn't have to deal with it this time around, but they went back to that shelter split that we were hoping for. The plane path kind of warranted that, as it were. And they are patient about it here. To be able to play downhill into a very open area against the rest of these teams. Yeah. They knew where to go, and they knew when to go. I love it.
Yeah, and the way you play Crash Site is just hide the cars, right? And the moment that other teams do not have any good position to play from, you start to use the cars to flex out and get those multi-angles. And Mythic in particular had such key angles. The moment that Mad Bulls were obliterated on the southern edge, you can start to flex out against Xavier and make sure you're going to secure every single one of those eliminations. So, I mean, I have to echo your sentiment here, Kalaris. On Erangel, they are so damn scary to deal with that I think we're going to see more wins like this from them.
Man, I would have liked to see Mad Bulls leave the Xavier alive to actually fight Loops out. I think that they kind of hamstringed him a little bit with that one particular knock from Flique.
Right.
But at the end of the day, right, they still put up some major points on the board. Take a look at the overall rankings, and Loops moving up to second place, starting to catch up to Stalwart after that performance here, Cal.
That's huge. That is huge here. And as you say, what you were saying about Mad Bulls, I kind of echo that sentiment as well. I mean, if you think about some of these scenarios that go down, you've got to be a little bit concerned when trying to move through terrain that is very difficult to move through, right? And one way to do that is be stealthy, be sneaky, don't take those shots. Try and move away from the idea of drawing attention to yourself and maybe getting away with a little bit more. It's a tough decision to make, though, in that kind of scenario.
And actually playing Cube before that, they're just able to negate a lot of the rotation from the southern edge, especially Quest in particular, and then you can start to be sneaky, as you said, Kulash, because you don't have to really be cautious about your backside being backfilled by another team. So really good approach from them, though we have so many good individual players, especially with seeing some of the nades play from Loops. They had so much utility that was just chucking behind the rocks, the trees that are the only hiding spot in a circle like this, and the Loops still currently like significantly better than other spots on this battleground. What the hell, Erangel is their man.
Man, they know what to do, especially if they get in a position where that play is just obvious. They're so difficult to take down, and they just ran with it. So if they get that zone, they have proven that they could just get points like crazy.
That said, though, I mean, as much as I was like, oh yeah, we backed the Brazilian team, the impact Alpha 7 is having on these lobbies on Erangel as well cannot be understated. 8,000 damage from them. I mean, if we're thinking about this game here, right, they're coming in from that west side in a little bit of a slower manner, because they kind of have chosen their location that they already want to sit at. But the fact that they're doing so much damage to the rest of the lobby here means that their influence is sending shockwave through these games on Erangel. So you've got to be careful of just Brazil in general, apparently, on Erangel.
If you're not just looking at the elimination and damage side of things, you're looking at Stalwart. Very slow rotation this game, leaving Novo very late, I think on phase 2, phase 3 shift, very far away out in the blue zone. But by doing so, they're like, okay, we're seeing a circle going already north of the riverside. Let's go for the wide wrap east towards Yasnaya Poliana, enter from the eastern edge. And they were able to clear actually a lot of angles by doing that rotation, clearing out especially Aegon I8 really efficiently. And when you have Nozed on top still alive, I mean, come on, that's like the golden duo right now. There's still a chance they can pull something out of the sleeve. So, yeah, sure, not the big flashy game, but they're still getting consistent points, which keeps them high up on that first place.
Just to briefly add as well, Hot Jukes, I mean, like, for a Stalwart, you're a Novo team. What do you expect from a circle like this? It's always going to be a salvage mission, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, one thing that they have for them is that we saw a zone like this in the past. But you know, one thing we got to talk about, of course, is the official smartphone here for Pmgc, the Infinix GT 10 Pro, a phone created for esports players, guys. If you want to go ahead and dominate the lobby, make sure you check out the GT 10 Pro. Also, make sure you're following the TikTok, guys. You know, Pmgc 2023, search it up. You can see some cool behind the scenes and a whole bunch of other goodies as well. And if you're doing that, you gotta also hit all the buttons. Subscribe to everything we got going on here, because it's only gonna get more intense every single day, every single match. And one team in particular that we got to talk about as well, Max, man, is Persija, huh?
Oh yeah, I love their play this game. I could talk about that I could do a whole segment just talking about how Persija play this one. There was a super cool fight in their compound over to the west. There was that little hilltop, which usually is strong if your backs have also been cleared, and there was an involved and looking to third party, their own fight versus Falcons. So Persija being very smart about it, thinking, okay, we don't want to get in that third party situation. We're just going to exit that fight, go for the compound, which at that point is in circle, and we're going to send our main man, our off-angle player, Redface, to go up north and just collapse on that fight happening between Falcons and Alpha 7. It's a great setup. You're just clearing the entirety of the western side, can play from the compound and rotate from there in the circle even further. It was not an easy play to do, but man, I just love how methodical they are in these situations. So Persija, again, maintaining a podium position.
Beautiful, beautiful. Still a lot more action to go, guys. Time for us to cool down a little bit, and we'll be right back after this break. is Xavier with that hot drop situation. But they did put some decent points on the board here, Kellars.
I mean, they keep winning it out, like, firstly, so they absolutely understand Pmgc very, very well. They're not willing to share, and also their movement beyond that as well is very important. I was surprised for a little while that they were surviving as long as they did in the shack, but even when you get into nade range of it, like we were seeing Loops try and do, they were only able to hit nades outside of the shack, right? Dislodging people inside the shack, even from nade range, you're having to thread a very fine needle there to try and do that. So Xavier gave them problems, even though they did win in the end, Loops.
You saw like 34 nades coming out from the side of Loops. Like, oh, we're going to be very aggressive. And then you have 34 smokes used for the side of Xavier. Please don't nade our shit, please. But it was good to hold down the position because you don't want to, as you said, Klaus, thread the needle. You want to defend it. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Hot drop, hot drop. Let's see another one here as we get back into Aaron Gale. Let's take it all over to our casters.
Hey, there we go. We got Jukes in on it now. This is good.
Yeah,
If we all
good.
collectively just hot drop, it's not going to end. It's not going to end. I'm telling you right now, this is the game where Bra Esports, Blank, they played it a little bit calmer last time. They're going to be frustrated. They're going to go, lads, it didn't even work. Let's just fight them. I think they just scrap. Yeah.
Just battle. Have it out with him. Look, we went away. We played like cowards and we died like cowards. Now we need to fight like men over in Pmgc. Win that bad boy out and then we win the game. That brain cell is really flaring right now for Bra Esports. They want it. They want it bad.
It's engaged. Like, it's swollen. It's so swollen right now.
Angry, furious.
If you're not going to beat them, run away!
Who do you think you are? Fight!
My God. Right, well, let's get you up to speed as we're going into our second of the Erangals. That's why we are commanding the hot drop. That's why we are begging for it to keep happening, because it was free for free yesterday. I wouldn't be surprised if we go free for free again today, but let's find out. We got our playing path. Let's see if anything's going to drastically change this time around.
Pretty cheeky playing path, actually. Kind of nice overall for a lot of these teams. They're happy about it. It's not too horrible for anyone. I mean, for some of these teams getting over towards the Povka maybe might be a bit harder. But for Pmgc, it goes directly above it. So you better get that drop out nice and early. Get down to the ground as fast as possible. I don't see Bra Esports still in the plane. So I have a feeling they're underneath the mucker teams that are currently on your screen. You got Gladiators heading back out towards South George. They had a bit of a better rotate last game, but I think they bit off more than they could chew. We got Loops heading back down towards I-8 to cause some more problems, to cause some more ruckus, a bit more of a mess. They didn't do this last game, but they're pulling out the secret card once again, and I-8 is not enjoying it.
Damn. Okay. It looks like finally for once we have a resolution, Blank. The brain cell has
Oh my God.
Yeah, Bra have given it up. They're gone. DX, different way.
Cowardice!
DX at this point just going, we've done it, lads. We've won the whole land.
We've beat them. They're probably just laughing right now in their booth because they just feel so good about it. What an increase in confidence as well. Battling away one of the most stubborn teams in the lobby up towards Severny, no less, you know. They're out of the picture now. They're off the backside of the map. This is just so sad for Bra Esports. But I'm also glad that the raging brain cell was put to rest, right? You know, it has been quelled, been quietened by this team because they desperately needed to make it happen. Mythic's down though, and I-8 might be spoiling the Loops' day. Chief though, still in action.
For Loops, it'd be a bit upsetting if you go straight off the back of a chicken dinner into a 16th place finish. That is not what you want. Straight from the frying pan into the, I suppose, bigger frying pan that doesn't have any chicken into it in this instance. So we'll see if they can survive there. Yeah, pain pan. It's just full of nails.
Yeah,
not a
it's
very
horrid.
hearty meal.
Yeah, no oil either. Yeah.
Yeah, don't breathe that. That's nail dust.
Bad for you. Wouldn't recommend it. IQ though tries to head up towards that top side, but Cardozin got himself a nice little angle over towards the other side. Chief, surprisingly, still alive and being rezzed over towards Mythic. That is That's crazy. I can't believe they've allowed that to happen. They just cannot get control of these rooftops at the moment. I think Luke's played the correct hand, which is, look, if we have control of this top side, we're confident on our peaks, we're confident on our ability to spot out these players. They're constantly giving IA trouble.
Yeah, they are. The fact they've been able to reset this fight so cleanly, and now actually in terms of the positioning, you're not in a bad spot. You could still do something from this. It felt like I8 had good angles to shut this one down. At the very least, make it kind of irrecoverable for Loops in the early game, where they'd be forced to try and limp out of here with 1 or 2 survivors. Instead, getting Mythic back up, you can still play off the back of this. You've got a wide berth of players as well in terms of the angles now covered, all of them with high ground control. Ooh, this feels like the dominoes could tumble quite quickly here, Blank. So I8 need to be very smart with their decision making, especially if they want the flank from Blade to basically be the backstab. Ideally, you probably want to buddy up on this one. Try and play the duos because there's just so many angles watching you.
Yeah, it's difficult right now. UZM tries to even get through the building, is having a tough time of it. And I think that this fight is actually extremely important between both of these teams. With IA actually having a semi-decent match at the start of the day, only to be taken down here on Erangel, one of our first potential Sosnovka finishes on the circle. That's going to be brutal for you. This is one of the times where you really desperately want to be a military team. Right now, they just cannot find any of these openings. Loops, though, taking it a little bit closer to them, grouped up towards this western building, looking to potentially take the fight to IA, who have all got themselves turtled up inside this building. One pump shotgun available. That might be the game changer, but in comes a nade.
It's Falak downstairs. Wow. Oh, I was expecting him to be first contact. Trying to find a player that was knocked. Shuts him down with one pump off the back of the shot. There's the readjustment from Falak as he'll swing, clearing out the corridor with a sweep. Oh, bit of a misplay though on the adjustment. Blank goes running through the door, turns tail, gets assaulted because of it. Cardozo now as well, reaggressing into the hallway, gets the reload off on the DBS, has a good understanding of where everyone is and lands the flick on the repeak. How did that go so wrong so quickly?
Mate, Chief's little jump out the window was tremendous, bro. But to be fair, you saw 2 players. He checked the room, no one was in it, and the play right there was for him to maybe wait for it, but I didn't have too many options. Great peek up there coming through from Chief, getting them down in that situation. You've got to love that coming through from Loops. What a orchestrated play in the heat of the moment, no less. And now Loops have control of a very, very nice bit of space of the map in accordance with this circle where most teams already are trying to barrel their way through to this South Island. No one's really thinking this is going to drop back up towards that northern side. It could, but most teams are looking to cement themselves down towards Sosnovka itself. Interesting start to the day, and Loops once again prove exactly why they're currently in second place, catching up to Stalwart.
What the fuck? Iconic gone.
Really cool fight there between the both of them. Different as well, different flavor considering the hot drops that we have been seeing on Erangel. You know, we've traded out the DX Bra Esport clash and we got a little Loops IA clash, which honestly, I'd take it. That was something different, mate. You know, that was kind of like the cayenne, maybe a little bit of garlic in there.
Yeah, and honestly, it really was like IA just became smoked that briefly. They certainly were smoked by the guys from Loops, just wielding some pretty heavy weaponry towards their way. Gladiators still yet to make their move. Mad Bull similarly also on the same trajectory. For Bra Esport, again, another pretty brutal game for them. Been forced up towards Severny, the furthest you could be from Sosnovka. Getting themselves down here, obviously, is a bit of a trek for them. They are rotating alongside Pasija Evos, but they've had to limit the amount of time they've had to loot here. Because remember, Circle was south to north, so although, again, there is a lot of loot in Severny, they were limited by the fact that the majority of their time would be in the plane, in the shoots, getting a little bit of time to loot. They see this circle, instantly they realize, look, we've got to start making our way down towards that south side. This is not going to be an easy game for us otherwise. But a lot of these areas are taken up. A lot of the bridges held out by 1 or 2 teams. It's going to be a bit of a struggle for some of these guys on the northern edge. Most likely might just want to post up to some of these important compounds that sit on the side of these bridges on that North Island.
Thing is for Bra Esport though, at least the one saving grace that is, although it's going to be uncomfortable and it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world for them, as you're basically having to fight for control of what is left already with a lot of the compounds being scavenged for, especially now with the zone moving across as well, making it an awful lot more awkward back over towards Novska. It's really going to be a bit more uncomfortable for them. But at least, Blank, this is them playing out that longevity, playing out a smarter game in terms of the early rotation. So many times they tunnel visioned and then just got left in the dirt where they weren't able to do anything outside of the opening fight in Pmgc. They've had to adjust their game plan here, and that might bring up a bit more of a pep in their step. You'd hope. But we'll see how they handle it. We'll see what they can do. We know Bra Esports have an awful lot more to show us. We just haven't seen it over day one. Tiamba on screens here, though, and they are being crashed upon. Nades for days. Stereo frags could be coming our way as they just decimate with them. It looks like you should be able to pick off the numbers, but instead it's Tiamba that are eating the damage. It looked like it was well placed with a Molotov and the follow-up for the grenade, but hasn't really worked out too well. Unlucky as well on a back tap here. Oh man, Blank, this could have been a whole different fight.
Yeah, YDD almost gets his leg blown off his body, able to jump to the side just in time to get out of that nade range, but it still tickles him quite a bit here. But now Maliz Esports all trapped inside this building. Nades for days available, but not many available. In fact, for Tiamba, with not a lot on board, just a stun grenade now in the hands of Lee. Maybe there's some more on the rest of the players that might be able to be used to good effect. This is down towards the south side of the island, but CEO later finds QZZ, and now they push out from this building towards the backside, try and open up some more angles, and Tiamba feeling a little bit lost now. Their off angle in QZZ being down is a really horrific start for them. They lost a lot of info off the back of that, lad.
So rough, man. It felt like it really should have been a different encounter off the back of the way the initial crash went with the utility used, and especially with some of the shots they were landing. You're going to be kicking yourself that it's now fallen into a position where you feel like your confidence has been sapped a little bit. Oh, HP being ripped away, as well as the nade's going to open it up. Shrapnel.
Easy down towards the southern coast. Another quick rotation coming through from this team, allowing themselves to have a good start to this match. But Mad Bulls, look at this. The two EU brethren set themselves up for failure at this point in time, but I think Mad Bulls still have a good opportunity to get across. Gladiators, you just got to hope they've got enough meds to weather this one out to the point where Mad Bulls realize that they too have to cross this bridge now. With the circle heading right down towards this south side, Mad Bull, the time isn't working with them. Right now it's working against them. They need to get moving, but they'd love to pick themselves up a couple of eliminations in the process, as Gladiators have to move across as well.
The battle on the bridges is going to be a big talking point for a lot of our teams here. Reject Tokyo as well, going to be barricading the exit for Bra Esport on the other bridge. This is the POV here. You can see they've got the setup. Two on top, Lufa down towards the wayside here, just playing on the outskirts, belly down on the ground, ready to basically act like a bit of a tripwire. You always love that angle up here as well that Jule's taken. So easy to take peeks from. You can lean around either side, makes it a bit more uncomfortable to fire shots back onto you as well with that added height. Could be a big factor for Reject Tokyo. And we know, man, in these fights, Blank, it feels like they go full Hail Mary. They do not do anything by halves, does Reject Tokyo.
No, they commit to it, and you got to respect that from the Japanese team, is that they've got an idea, they want to play it out. It doesn't always work out the way they want it to, but they really do try and get it done to the best of their capability. And I think that's how you improve at the game as well, right? You know, you're playing at this high level of gameplay with all these teams. You have to commit to a play. If it doesn't work out, at least you've got mistakes that can be fixed out in future. Good jump out of the vehicle, tries to find some shots over towards Tospic, but Kane might be the prime target as he barrels his way across the bridge, but Reject just a little bit too slow on the trigger there.
Looks a bit disjointed. They couldn't hold their setup any longer, knowing the zone was coming in and wanting to prioritize survivability over the scrap. So they give up the positions they had, but they might have unknowingly ran into a squad that's been waiting for them. It's Evo's. Luxy first to fall, Zuxi bonneted as well. So the twins going down. Now you're going to be struggling to project yourself further into this one, but a sneaky maneuver from Redface. Couldn't quite prioritize the targets though, baited by the vehicle as he'll be hitting the car rather than the player, and then it's slowed down, slammed to the ground as Julo will clash back onto it, and it is just Misery looking to try and make a play from this one. Luxy at least could still help him, but it depends on the spacing. They're quite far away from one another. Luxy, he could be running straight into the crosshairs of the two right ahead of him. Reginocio jumps in the vehicle as well. Smoke's going up.
Some wild movement in the vehicles right now. Luxy goes down. I think that practically all of these eliminations have just been by the vehicle's bonnet. There's one final player off the distance in Misery for Pmgc Evos, but I think it might just be all over for this team. In the meantime, look where Gladiators have got themselves to, all the way on that northeast side. That is one hell of a send for this team. They're going to try and lock down any squad trying to get on that northeastern side. And what a hellish, brutal, nasty old circle we've got here, where it moves down into the water, playing off that coastal edge. In some way, Gladiators move through the hail of bullets and the storm that's occurring on this northwest side to get themselves a pretty sound position, honestly.
Misery. Moving back on in, buys time to at least get the heal off as well. Meanwhile, Mad Bulls, a side that we alluded to a rough rotation for them, expecting them and Gladiators to run into one another. Instead, this is where they've ended up, moving the whole way around and getting themselves thrown into a bit of a clash. Earths and Megamind. Basically, 1v2 versus Tulika, but look in the distance, Blank. Here comes the big dogs, Loops. They had a rough start to this game, but they weathered the storm, patched themselves back up, and they've had 6 eliminations in total since then. And they are coming in quick, looking to aggress onto Mad Bulls. It seems like they've also found an opportunity to fight versus Quest.
Al-Haji down is really bad news for them. Tulika spots out the 2 players, and there is the final frag that comes through along the way from Frozen. Takes down the final 2 from Zia there. Well done to these 2 lads. It might be pretty unlikely to get your boy Tulika back in the game, but at least you get some eliminations off the back of this one. Loops, though, have been extremely good on this side, and it's probably one of the only reasons that Gladiators are able to make their way through is they heard that fight and they heard the skirmish, and they were able to just thread that needle at the right time. So really good knowledge of what was going on in the map to make that play happen. But again, the Mad Bulls just suffer to Loops, who have a real good chokehold on the north side of the circle, even taking shots down towards the guys from Quest. It's a really rough time for this team. And Frozen, he just sends it out into the water, and he's just going to take a big old dive to survive this one out as long as possible, because with the way this one's set up, with the amount of water that's currently in it, it's going to be a rough game for everyone, and teams are going to start dropping like flies.
A group of fish is a school, but a group of alter ego players, that would be called a wet alter ego at this point.
That is correct. Yeah, you're not wrong.
Quite a few of them have a nice swim.
It is a big old swim. I mean, they were swimming all the way on that southern side for a long time.
Been swimming for a while.
I imagine what they went for, because they start in Lipovka, right, is head down towards Mills Power, pick yourself up a boat, and then just swim outside of that render distance of the game itself, and then just swim all the way in. Nice nade there from Gladiators. Kitsune takes down one of the players from Elise, and they're the players that currently have a decent compound. I think they have taken a couple knocks in turn, which they're currently remedying as best they can. Kikali from Bra, this is the team that had all odds stacked against them on this northeast side. They've managed to start clearing. This is when they can play to their best capability. They're a team that's great once they start getting that ball moving, and for the last practically 8 matches, it has been a dead standstill.
Zone moving in as well. Oh, okay. This is going to be interesting then. Let's see how this goes. Obviously, an awful lot of it basically being that blue liquid. So the H2O claiming a lot of the landmass, making it harder for these sides to have any real map geometry to play around from. The DMRs finding opportunities to strike again as well. As Misery peeks up, puts a couple of bullets down range on Bra. Will at least slow Kakali down. Leaving him lifeless on the hillside, low HP. If he wants to go for the res, his teammate will be baited in. Meanwhile, he's got to medkit himself back up as well, so won't really be able to take the fight. And this angle is being watched by Coursera, so they're aware of his positioning now. And they've got the firepower for it. Scope attached for max precision. Meanwhile, Cardozin taking a hit as well as they actually find that adjustment there. So Bra Esports, 3 eliminations to their name, getting a little bit more out of this one. This might be where we start to say goodbye though to Alter Ego. It's taken them so long to arrive on land. They have been swimming for ages. Their boots are soaked. Their jeans absolutely ruined. But they're going to try and get up on a rock face and see what they can do. Rosemary, low HP though, blank.
Yeah, mate, honestly, this point in time with those wet clothes or soaked clothes, it's feeling heavier and heavier getting back into this match because I don't think they expected the circle coming this far down towards the south side. They sort of hoped this would be an open area where they could slowly move in towards the hills on that northern edge and play a more relatively fair Sosnovka circle. Last player from Pmgc Evos will go down in Zuxi. That stalwart picking them up. Have been relatively quiet today, yet still putting up points here and there. You know, they got up to 96 points. They started the day on 82. It's not bad at all. And currently playing from that northeast edge. And I think when you give a little bit of space to stalwart, even if it requires them to push through teams, really hamper a lot of squads, this is where they really do thrive a lot.
How can you play around this, really? So fragmented in terms of the setup as well. And 6, he's just agitated, man. He knows that he's so exposed, right? And he's just trying to find something to work with on this. Like, if I just peek you before you peek me, maybe I can make a play on this.
Certainly is that idea that he's got ants in his pants right now and he's got crosshairs looking his way too. It's a difficult scenario for Falcons to play out this edge of the map because, like you say, it's very exposed. They still want to deal with Alter Ego, who could be moving up on their side of the map any moment. So they've really got to be on the swivel. But almost that nature of them constantly being under threat, under pressure, has allowed them to take down 2 players there over on Loop's side. Currently, Gladiator is sending the nades over towards Stalwart. It starts off well with a singular knock coming through, but no elimination found just yet.
Stalwart forced to play medic here as well, as they've got to get their teammate back up on his feet and look to see what they can do with this. Stalwart, bear in mind, are only a few points away of breaking the 100-point barrier, pushing their way into the triple digits. I believe they only need 4 more points. So we'll see just how much they can squeeze out of this game. Icy taking some heavy hits, as he will be losing a fair amount of HP on that one. So forced to give up the opportunity to peek, has to slow it down. They basically need to reset. Across the board, you can see it was a lot of damage done to the entire team of Stalwart. Taking solo peaks at a time like this, probably not going to be worth it. Meku is confident to continuously deal damage though. He just wants to keep applying pressure onto them. Utility in the hands. That's the last grenade thrown out. Will it be a clean connection? Looking like a little sliver of damage back there onto Nerzer, but not too much to write home about. But that's instigated the fight blank. Action hits him with it. They're roaming in now. They've got confidence for this. The nades blank. They're always so on point.
And Carrillo comes up from underneath in the depths. 2 players down for Gladiators. It's all gone wrong. They knew what they need to do, which is just to hold Stalwart out for a little bit longer because they would be heading into the blue very, very shortly. There's a good spray from Nerzed. Doesn't quite take them down. A lot of smokes in play. Tops gets knocked here from CEO later on Maliz, and Icy's going to continue the charge forward. Moving in towards Matic and Kitsune, who know they want to push further into this game. This is where things are going to start to pop off. This is where you can start to ladder up just a little bit. Currently, with 0 eliminations, they'd be getting no points in this game if it goes this way.
Ooh, Bra trying their best to shut things down here. It looked unfortunate for Ken, but it does work out. Axa will be hit by the bonnet and cleaned up because of it. So they're able to at least slow down Falcons massively. 6 as well. He's been the point man, guarding the edge and stopping Alter Ego for ages, but now they finally found a way to bleed their way in.
The fact that Alter Ego's been able to get up here is pretty miraculous, honestly. Just picking their battles, picking their timings as well very nicely. And they might be able to just get a full squad back up again, but getting down towards Fnatic on that south side might be just too tough here. There is nades still available for Alter Ego, and the guys from Bra, they've got to continue to push in. So these nades could absolutely be devastated if placed correctly.
Only problem is for Alter Ego, their utility seems to be at an all-time low apart from a few smokes, whereas it seems like from the overview right now, Bra Esports, they've got a box full of grenades and they are launching them one after another, getting the wrist workouts in on this. Or Gladiators as well. This is a fight that's been prolonged for quite some time between them and Stalwart. It felt like Gladiators had a good grasp on it, but the longer it's gone on, you're seeing Stalwart pushing back consistently, taking more of this control towards the hillside into their favor. They're going to have a nice position to play off of. These are two big fights effectively. Low HP though off the back of the nade. Here we go, Blanky instigates it. A lot of damage done.
Was good from Rosemary. Damn, they're towing the line there with those nades coming across over towards Gladiators. A lot of damage done, and they might just have the information now to pop one into the direct spot that it needs to go in. Great retreat here coming from Alter Ego, backing up from the nades that have been sent over from Bra. They're hoping that Maliz or DX might try and get involved here. But Gladiators, 1 point again. That's all they'll gain on this game. From their first initial decent rotation, from a position that really felt like they shouldn't get anything off the back of it. They've not done too badly, but they won't accrue all that much. Now Stalwart knows it's just one player left in that ditch. They can continue to push through. They've got the two players in the back trying to move forward, but now Alter Ego is even getting involved here.
Mafioso's armed himself as well and saw an opportunity to take the peak onto the backline of Gladiators. Of course, this has kind of given away his surprise angle. So Stalwart at least know where he is and can try and shroud themselves, make sure their backs are kept hidden from that angle towards the beach. Parajin, though, with an unexpected peek through the window, able to at least inflict a little bit of damage and make it more uncomfortable. Mafioso's back on the move as well. Matic again eats a Molotov as he's turned into a barbecue gladiator.
That's the second time they've been mollied here as well. It's so uncomfortable. Each time they've gone for the res on it as well because they know they need to have these two players if they have any hope in hell of getting themselves back into this game a little bit further. And still, yet to lose teams, yet to lose players here. Everyone's just holding in a tiny little position that has some relative safety. No real meds remaining now for the Gladiators. Got some stims on board, but that's about it. Rosemary in play. Just go down and action found here. So Maliz looking over towards Stalwart. Another nasty Molotov over towards Gladiators. These guys, they're charred.
Oh, man. They're like an overcooked marshmallow right now. Going to be far too burnt. Not gooey in the middle. Not what you want to be in. Nurzed, though. You can see, even just with the way he postures himself into any of these games, he's always looking for the next encounter. He's always thinking 2 steps ahead in terms of the fights. Action, though, might have bit off a little bit more than he can chew as he's baited into the peak. Poser with a few shots down range. Here we go. Alter Ego. They've snuck the whole way up. They got into the face of Bra, but it's not going to work. The shotty does not cleave its way through them. They're finished off. Now DX feel like they're confident enough to instigate the fight versus the weakened team. So nades going over. Lamborghini ready with 4 in the back pocket. He wants to blow them to bits. We know that DX have good nades, Blank. They've always had great synergy on their timing with these double nades. Is it going to be able to obliterate Bra here?
Oh, Matic just peeks out for too long, tries to finish off the remaining players there from Stalwart, but I think he could have bided his time. They were sort of in a position that was going to lead them directly towards that end game. And instead, they only get themselves a 7th place off the back of that. Not ideal, but again, some serious resilience from these boys. Mad Bulls have just lived it out on the coast over here. They're going to be getting some serious placement points. They can keep this sort of thing up. A7 decided to completely remove themselves from the game. They've headed down towards the south side of the coast, and this is going to keep them safe for a little bit longer. Stalwart have had to deal with so many teams in their way, and this is sort of their MO, right? They're so good at controlling controlling multiple teams at the same time, keeping relative info on absolutely everybody. So it's a scary team to come up against, and I think that they've played it wonderfully once again from one of the biggest outside positions that has so many sightlines that looks over towards it. Oh,
Man, okay, action. Straight in with a headshot. I mean, Mafioso, fair play to him in terms of the longevity he had of staying alive and just kind of being annoying in the back line there. But Alpha 7 finally go up in a puff of smoke. Action as well. It feels like he is a bit of an action hero in this one, Blank. The amount of times we've seen him knocked, losing half his HP, getting shot at, eating grenades, and still resetting, still continuing to find opportunities to punish. And Icy as well. Another pickup here, finding another knock. It really does feel like what we were seeing yesterday, where every player on STE can win individual 1v2s, 1v3s. Finally now, though, they might bit off a little bit more than they can chew, as you are seeing the combination of a lot of teams. Aid will secure it. Huge knocks on that one. They've just got to clean up now.
Tokyo drifts right through the lot of them there. Lamborghini comes through with the M249, making a lot of noise and making a lot of room for him and the rest of his team. Stalwart from the distance, definitely taking some damage here, but certainly clearing out these teams still. Bra go down with 10 limbs. A much better game than we've ever seen from them from the rest of this tournament. So mad props to them. Mad props to the Mad Bulls. Frozen, still alive, sat on a little bit of ice himself, just trying to keep himself up in this one. Smokes imperative as DX attempt to move through here, Jackie. Just Levi's left.
Trying their best to stay alive, but Levi's, it'll be no surprise as he goes down. Kishu strikes and finishes him off. Action. Is he aware of this? Frozen throwing out nades. He's given the game away. He's been spotted, but it will be the zone that takes him to the grave, ending it there. Stalwart, are they coming for another chicken dinner? Will the Mongolian side be able to add to the already massive collection of wins they've had over the course of the event so far?
Battling up the hill here, up towards Malise. They're all on dead set HP now. Lewis barely breathing at this point in time, but Nerzed, he's taken out. We're into a 1v4 here with these two players underneath. Oh no, it's just Icy and Tops. So we've still got a little bit more to do. It's a little bit crazy. It's all over the place for all these players. Poser also just peeking over the edge into the abyss here. Icy tries to reposition, gets a bit of damage, but there's a knock from him over towards Poser in the process. And Malise, they just can't keep up.
The BPM that's coming out from Stalwart is far too much to handle. Blank, they're just dropping into them. It feels like they are just falling like flies right now. They cannot strike back. Forced to go into the hill. It's the zone that makes it uncomfortable, though. That could be the one saving grace. They've got a lot more room to play with in terms of the map geometry as the zone closes in. It's all about healing through this. Can they actually survive this one, or will it all go wrong? It seems like they've lost it in the dying moments.
They actually are able to win it from underneath Malise Esports. I thought they were going to go down to the blue, but Icy had not had enough. He jumps backwards and on the jump, hits the shot, slams the earbud to the desk because he don't need no sound anymore because he's hearing the thunder of the chicken dinner in his ears. What a game from Stalwart. What a game from one of the difficult positions on the map, one of the most difficult positions on the map to play. And they just calmly beset upon loads of teams. The way that we saw Action just lazily move up onto the rock, take down two players from A7. What a brilliant victory from them. It's absolutely nutty. You love to see it. And again, this was one of the toughest games for Stalwart so far. And again, it just looks pretty easy.
Yeah, that's so uncomfortable. You know, even when we're sat there really trying to analyze it as best we can in that situation where you look like you're at a massive disadvantage, even when the numbers that were being thrown at you, they were just trying to whittle down their health enough so that the zone would be what finished them. Man, that's absolute insanity, Blank. You look at the damage again as well. Top, he was posting, I think, what was it, like 2.4k we saw him peak at yesterday.
It was
again,
crazy.
Here he's dropping a K. Like, the guy's just unstoppable. It's crazy how well Stalwart have been playing. The fact that they find themselves 3 chicken dinners yesterday, another chicken dinner today, the human embodiment of the point vacuum, Blank. I don't know how else we can sum it up, right?
Yeah, they were just sucking away at these points. And honestly, why not? You know, fill themselves up to the brim because they deserve them. They deserve every single one of these points. Yes, it drops over towards the Sosnovka Island and they drop in Novo, so they had a good chance at making it happen. But where they entered from was so difficult to pull off. The amount of teams taking shots at them, the way they took care of Gladiators. You know, that was an interesting fight overall for Gladiators because I do think that Gladiators made a good play to get towards that spot. They had 4 players. They knew what they had to do there, which was to delay Stalwart as much as possible. So when the blue came in, it was going to be rough for them. But in the end, Stalwart just used that idea that they're so good at gathering information to grab all the utility and just send those nades over. In the meantime, we're going to send you over like a grenade over to the desk.
Misery for the rest of the lobby. Goodness gracious, what a game. This is insane. Stalwart with another crazy performance, and with a, and I quote, I think I heard Kalara say use the word silly circle about 9 times. What do you think about that zone, Cal?
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it here, Hot Jukes. Thank you, Calaris. I mean, let's be real. Stalwart, yes, okay, they're a Novo and it's a military finish to a degree, in inverted commas. I like the AMR link, that's very nice. They came to the cliffs late and then at the very last moment had to hit the shots of the Malise dropping onto the next cliff above them, and were able to do that as well here. Otherwise, they kind of bleed out to the blue. But another Stalwart win. That's 4 in 9 games, Hot Jukes.
Unbelievable, Max.
Yeah, if you don't believe in Stalwart at this point, I don't know what would make you believe in Stalwart, okay? They've already showed, like, top tier, S tier plus gameplay, okay? It's just Stalwart, just so good. In circles where, you said it right, Kadar, city circles, again, just to reiterate the point, they are still able to find a sense of consistency. And despite Top being clearly MVP of this game in terms of damage and eliminations, I also want to talk about action. He's got so many strong angles down below to make sure that also the solo of Mad Balls were not going to pose a threat to their location. So action was just setting up the team so efficiently, step after step after step. So man, they already were in first place with a significant lead here, Hot Jukes, and they're just going to make an even bigger lead, it seems.
Obviously, as well, like there was a trash talk video released just before today's games as well, and Pmgc was saying instantly, they were asked, you know, who's the biggest threat in the lobby? Stalwart. No hesitation, nothing whatsoever. What a surprise. 116 points in 9 games.
But Xavier, Mao pushed up in top 3. I mean, they have been also consistent on this map, and especially now with the hot drop not happening anymore inside of Pmgc, this is actually going to give them even more opportunities to reach that late game and frag out hard. Like, they got 41 eliminations on 25 placement points. Xavier are a threat, especially with Lamborghini hitting some of those sick nades, Hot Jukes, so he's just able to carve his way in that circle.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I love the way that they were pushing up to it. Unfortunately, not able to make it all the way to the end because it was a tough circle. I mean, it's crazy that Stalwart, I mean, actually got their drop location, right, as a final circle, and that's insane. And it's so crazy to see a team that lands so far south on Sosnovka dominate this tournament. The first team to hit 3 digits. It's absolutely ridiculous, you know. But you know, another thing is, Kalaris, you know, you know, they gave up the hot drop. We were doing the chant. They gave it up, but they actually put some points on the board.
You know, they are an aggressive team. They are relatively stubborn in some of their tendencies, but it's good to see that kind of mature decision making come to the forefront this early in a tournament. You could, in theory, just bash your head against the wall here over and over again. But the major problem is Xavier was performing well on other battlegrounds as well. So there's no reason for them to ever leave. And in fact, Xavier, in theory, if that hot drop did continue, could just be more aggressive on that push. Even if they lose out on that, you just wound them a little bit. And then in future potential scenarios in the tournament, you don't have to deal with them.
And it's so much better too because now they're not taking the fight. They dropped on the complete opposite side of the map, right? They dropped in Severny on that 2 split of Alpha 7, so they had to regroup. But it goes to show that just not taking the fight, they can clearly make those rotations work out. And the fact that they have the resources at the end, they can start popping off and maybe not get the win, but at least have consistent points so they can avoid being in the bottom 5. So great change from Brian. I just hope we're going to see that happen throughout the rest of this league stage now.
We should. I mean, honestly, if this wasn't like a massive wake-up call for them, I don't know what it is. I mean, the fact that they landed in the complete opposite side of the map and efficiently were able to push through, that's how they're going to get points. And this is why we keep talking about avoid the hot drops at all location, at all costs. And we did see that right there. So good for them. Another team, right? We saw Melise were able to get a very, very close game towards the end. They almost won that one, Max.
Yeah, and they were just holding down on the compound. They sent it really early. We're talking phase 1. They sent it towards that compound and just stay there for the entirety of the match. And very good on them. They just hold on to their resources. They know that nades on those cliff positions are going to be very, very important to make that transition later on. And the smokes too, to just make sure you can't get naded from those teams at the cliff side. So yeah, good hold down. Passive until they had to start being aggressive, which is what is kind of their motto right now for the side of Melise. They just chill until they have to start fragging out. Can't quite get the win, but it is just a valiant effort in a very silly circle again.
Yeah, I mean, this is starting to get a little bit crazy. Stalwart are going to start running away with this. I mean, we thought Loops was going to be able to catch up to them really quickly, but again, they just put down a crazy performance, Colaris. So what do you think that's going to impact on the rest of the lobby? Do you think teams are going to start avoiding them, maybe give it to them a little bit harder? What do you think?
I think if you're Stalwart, especially on Erangel, you could start... Yeah, I mean, I don't think personally they will deviate from their game plan. I think they are absolutely just going to play exactly the same way every single game. However, in theory, you could start hurting people that drop slightly north of you on Erangel, right? Like, because they're almost, well, they are at this point, they're guaranteed to go through into at least the survival stage, never mind the idea of going to the grand final. But my eyes for Stalwart would turn attention towards what's happening in Milta, what's happening in Farm, right? If you think about where Rejects are, if you think about where Tiamba is, those are the potential barrier teams that could then cause you a little bit of hindrance as you're trying to rotate through into that main island. Yeah. But I mean, this is a far stretch. This is just all theory because I don't think they'll deviate from their normal plan.
I don't even think they're going to change that much because they go for the late rotations. If a team could be an issue, just like, okay, we're going to wait until phase 2, phase 3 in the blue zone and then going to start rotating. I don't know who would be so stubborn to hold a Brinch. So they're just like, okay, we're just going to keep playing our usual game and just maybe get an easy sailing into the finals, because that's what's going on right now. Is just who's going to take away that first place away from Stalwart. As of right now, I can't see anyone really doing that.
Well, as a team, I definitely want to see in the finals. You know, we got a lot more left to go, guys. Let's go ahead and bring it on over to our casters.
Oh, that's right. Our last of the 3 Erangels before we ease into 2 back-to-back Miramars to round out day 2. Now, Blank, this kind of is getting towards like last chance saloon territory, right, for the end of the day here for Group Green. This is where you need to condense some points if you haven't really been able to build any, because we know who's been taking them all, shoveling them into a big backpack.
Yeah, they've been really stealing a lot of these points in the lobby at the moment of Stalwart. They don't really care about anyone else in terms of how much points they want to grab. They'll have all of them. Yes, please, and thank you. It's getting so ridiculous in terms of like where those points are leading to right now on the overall rankings. If we just take a quick peek right now, 116 points for Stalwart. That's first place. Now I'm going to read you a points total from another team, 66 points. That's third place. Doesn't really make much sense, does it? I mean, that's almost halfway behind what this team has been able to pull out. I think that you could be close to saying this team is fairly qualified, at least into the survival stage, no matter what happens going forward from now.
Yeah, I mean, you'd hope, right? Something absolutely miraculous would really have to happen. And honestly, I think it's one of those where unless they start just coming bottom 16 every single game, and even then, I feel like maybe there's a chance. So we'll see. But the way Stalwart are playing it, it feels like they are very, very comfortable at the minute. But they're not going to slow down. I think that's the beauty of it. You can see, even when it's a close game, Blank, they're a little bit frustrated with some of the outcomes. Even if they're taking wins, they want it to be clean. They want it to be a high-point scoring game. It feels like they are here to play no matter what the situation is. And that is a great mindset to have. Championship mindset, Blank.
Championship mindset is what you need at the end of the day, because this is the team that looks like they're playing over towards the Pmgc Grand Finals right now with the amount of effort they're putting out. And I think that, you know, if you can do that over in these first couple of days in your group as well, just put out the performance of your lifetime, directly qualify towards that Grand Finals, where a lot of that prize pool actually is already. So you just get maybe a top, if you get even into that top 8, you've already made absolute bank. So, you know, having a really good performance here in the group stage, getting the direct qualification to the grand finals is really good, not only in terms of taking a lot of the pressure off you, but just in terms of securing the bag at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm getting that mega bucks and being happy with your efforts. Well then, we make it back here, Group Green and the Green Pastures, as we go into Erangel one final time today. 3 of them a day. There's always room for adaptation. There's always room for aggression. We've seen some of the hot drops starting to resolve themselves again here. Bra Esports not wanting to clash versus DX, as they will take 2 different drops off the get-go.
Yeah, I mean, the boys on the desk we're talking about, it's just a case of, like, even if they want to go back to Pmgc now, it's a case where the Xavier are playing so well that they just accelerate the gameplay over in that position of the map, give them a real hard time, and just make it never worth to come back towards that position in the future, which I really enjoy overall. So this is great news for DX, you know, slightly less good news for BRA, but at the same time, you look at that last match, how many eliminations did BRA get? 10. It's not like they're a bad team. They were just massively hindering themselves from the get-go over in Pmgc, just staying way too long, forcing the issue. It was all fun and games on day 1, but I think they've realized now that it is time to switch things up, change things up, because it's not ideal the way they're currently playing. You look over towards the map, though, we're getting a western circle. We've had that western plane path as well, and I think that might have made things pretty awkward for a lot of teams. Luckily for them, they don't have to go too far outside of the comfort zone here. They can move on back. There is a lot of those alternate drop spots available too. You can see even Alter Ego switching things up here, heading over towards Hospital and the trash loot compounds that do sit in that area. So decent stuff for them.
It's been nice to see as well, at least, that the gap towards the upper echelons is closing a little bit. We're starting to see some of our better squads accumulating a few more points. Reject Tokyo as well, doing a good job of actually maintaining quite a high placement, all things considered. It seems like, again, even today, Blank, you know, kind of always the bridesmaid, never the bride, you know? They're always being able to make it into that top 2 position, but not quite close out the games. It's unfortunate for them, but consistency is key, and as long as they can just maintain this, close it out with a good day of play, who knows what tomorrow will hold for them. Similar things can be said about A7's run yesterday. At the minute, though, it feels like they've petered off a little bit in terms of almost that snappy decision making. It felt like yesterday it was very cleanly cut in terms of the way that they'd be able to flank around other teams, find back doors into fights where they would really pick people off and kind of add extra eliminations to their tally that almost at times you're thinking, how on earth have they even sort of squirreled those away? Today been a little bit quieter. It feels like they've been targeted a bit more by some of the other squads as well. So something to keep our eyes on. Gladiators on screens now, though, of course, looking a little bit better, but how far can they take it, Blank? How far can we see them ascend today? Because getting a little bit better still isn't going to be enough.
Yeah, I think for Gladiators in particular, like, today has been not so bad for them at all, right? You know, they've been able to get some good rotations in. And I think if you look at the overall point scoring from them, you could be somewhat a little bit disappointed from what's occurred. But if you are a fan of the Gladiators, I think you can sort of rejoice at this moment, because the matter of the fact is that they're actually doing some decent plays now. They're making some good rotations. They look like they're less in their own heads, right? You know, they're not living in their own heads rent-free anymore. They're definitely making some more smooth plays. They're opting for going for some of these engagements. There's still that hint of indecision in there, though, Jackie, and that's the one thing that does scare me just a little bit. But I appreciate that it wasn't a case of yesterday was just mad bad, and then you get into today and it's more of the same. But it looks like they have had that full reset, had a big breakfast, and come in feeling a little bit more lively here into today, which I am always happy to see. Looking at the map, though, at the moment, we are having a fair few teams already towards the center of this map, you know, mainly because of that plane path and the circle itself. So not a lot of teams will have to breach through, and this is going to give some of these squads a really good chance to get into a decent location early on in the game and start controlling areas, these maps.
And a good early game can really project you quite far into a great late game quest. on the peak, trying to read the room in terms of the timing. But as he swings around the corner, Alpha 7 will be able to pick up the pieces on that one. So severing one player from the rest of Quest and leaving them down to a 4 stack as they get away. At least finding a compound to slow things down. But Al-Haji, he's had some big games playing. It feels like he's kind of the instigator for a lot of the bigger, impactful plays we've seen from Quest. So losing him early, I don't know if that's going to be quite an impactful one to lose out. It feels like at times he is a bit of an impact fragger for them. So could be a problem. We'll see how they can react with it, how it affects them over the course of the game. One of the first players to exit stage left here into our third Erangel of the day as we wave goodbye to him.
I mean, you were mentioning AA7 as well, and I think they're a good team to bring up because they were doing fantastically well during that first day, right? They were doing lovely, and I was very, very pleased to see how they were playing, and it wasn't a case of they were getting outclassed or outmatched by some of these other squads who have a bit more of a pedigree, right, in terms of that ability. They certainly are a team that's been together for a long, long time now as A7. They've proved themselves in several different tournaments over the years, but I think the issue they're running into now is that mechanical ability alone is just not carrying them through. There's teams like Stalwart now that used to be very focused over towards that macro play with having those 2 good players in action and top be able to take a lot of names with them. But A7 could usually overwhelm them with the squad that they had. But now you're going up against a whole new beast, a whole new type of team, especially throughout the entirety of the lobby. So I think A7, like you said, needs to get back to that bit of a snappier play style, go from point A to point B, and not like Max said on the desk yesterday, which we saw a lot in that region, which is point A, point 1, point A, point 2 to point B. This is not what we want to see. I want to see a bit of those better, quick decisions made from A7 because they're a great team and they can make fantastic things happen. In the meantime, we're watching Alter Ego on our screen currently get dumpstered a little bit by Stalwart as they continue to push in towards their base of operations.
As per usual, of course, it was Nerzed in such an advanced position, just kind of, you know, given so much room to play off the leash as well, right? In the way that if he wants to make a play, kind of comes it across, instantly just goes for it. The team seems to support it wholeheartedly, knowing that they've got a lot of faith in him in terms of the individual mechanics.
Yeah.
They're just able to harass Alter Ego really blank and make them uncomfortable. Even if you don't squad wipe them this early into a game, harassment and just whittling numbers, that's going to pay off massively.
Yeah, it's a play style that you kind of have to cultivate before you come into this tournament, though, right? And I think that is just a confidence factor coming through from Stalwart, because you look at Stalwart, you look at Bra Esport, they try and go for the same thing in a way where they're the bullies of the lobby. They will just crunch you out of position with sheer overwhelming force. The issue is if you try and play that same gameplay when your team just cannot match up to some of these squads in the lobby, you cannot push into the circle, you cannot find those cracks in the armor of other teams, and you just slowly get pushed out onto the edge a lot of times. So you need to know that you are the best before you come into this tournament to pull that kind of thing off. And if you can't do it on the first day, you have to quickly readjust. I think the readjust maybe came in a little bit too slow for Bra Esport, and they had to swallow their pride a little bit earlier, but now at least they are back on the path to at least a survival stage finish for themselves. But for Stalwart, that playstyle is just working absolute wonders for them so far.
Yeah, it really does feel like, you know, they're kind of the biggest kid on the schoolyard and everyone else is just too scared to touch them. Because that's the other thing that's going to come with it. You know, you think about when you run into them on a rotate now, you see Stalwart, you're probably already kind of thinking between two minds, or do we even actually really get stuck into this engagement?
Scared.
Yeah, like, do we just give up on it? Because the likelihood that we're going to get out-aimed right now is probably quite high because they are just hitting some unbelievable shots. And the teamwork is super drilled from them. So they're not the sort of squad you want to run into. Probably for Bra as well, on the same page as DX, because probably just got all that trauma. You're like, oh, God, Pachinki.
They need some serious therapy right now after that, don't they, bro? Like, DXs just cause some big, big problems emotionally. The mental is damaged at this point in time. But again, it feeds back into what we were saying about Stalwart being the biggest kid in the playground. You know, he's got a beard. He's just got into secondary school.
He's only 11.
He's only 11. It doesn't make any sense. But I think for them, look at this. Like, they've just headed straight towards that central side. They know that they can challenge off against anyone, and that spot's open. This is not a circle where you're like, okay, I could just take center now, because the circle was over here in the first place. So was the playing path. There's likely to be a team there. They didn't care. They just sent it in. It was free. They've got it. Now they've got a really strong base of operations to play around with great sightlines out towards a lot of the fielded area around them. It is so good to play into their favor right now. And as you like to say, Jackie, feed that hot hand.
You've got to, man. You've got to. It's the difference, really, of being able to bring up someone's confidence. Because the thing is, Blank, confidence, especially like in esports in these days, it's one of those where it feels like if you break it and if you bring down someone that, has natural talent but not enough confidence, it's very hard to ever get them back to that point. Whereas if you're someone that maybe is a little bit shaky or outside of the game, but you can come in, hit a couple of shots, you got your teammates saying, hey, man, that's sick. Suddenly the confidence goes up. You're more willing to make those hero plays. You're going to really manifest them and make them happen. It's the fickle thing about confidence. Very easy to break it, and sometimes you can't find it back, but you have to try. And in some of these squads, we're seeing the benefit of believing in yourself, of backing yourself in 1v2s, 1v3s, just how much of a difference it's made. Coastal clash going down here, though, as Gladiators are going to be on the roam. Falcons looking for the contact as they've got high ground to play with, spotting out Matic and putting a couple of bullets his way. Puncher jumps in a driving seat and seems to be debating whether or not he wants to start to make a bit of a move on this one, just getting the vehicle into a better position for later. But Matic stimmed up and on the move.
Mate, this is actually kind of a cool play that happened in here, because Matic moves out into a location where he kind of is going to get shot no matter what, and then backs off. In the meantime, the entirety of Falcons are looking at him. You know what happens? All of Gladiators rotate over the top side. Unfortunately, they rotate directly into Malice Esports, but it's a great distract play, no? It's really, really fun to see. Meku can't quite get behind. Kitsune might just be able to heal up, but his vehicle's absolutely trashed here. Meku shot out from underneath the vehicle. I mean, what they did there was smart. They got into a decent position because of it. They also still trying their best. I mean, from that western side, it's sort of the safe pick, the safe play, which you expect a team like Gladiators to go for at this point in time. Just hasn't really given them the biggest boon going forward, as they just rock straight up into a lot of teams with the little information that they had.
And I think at least one of the good things about that is it starts to show that Gladiators are willing to show ingenuity again, right? They're willing to kind of run a risk of, if someone calls the play, everyone's all in on it, rather than kind of umming and ahhing, because that's always the worst element. When you see a fractured team, when they're fragmented in just sticking to one call, that really can come back to kind of again, right? They're willing to kind of run a risk of, if someone calls the play, everyone's all in on it, rather than kind of umming and ahhing, because that's always the worst element. When you see a fractured team, when they're fragmented in just sticking to one call, that really can come back to bite you directly on the bottom, which is never what you want. Always quite painful. Makes it hard to sit down. At the minute, though, we're seeing some of Reject Tokyo being forced to sit down as they've been taking bullets from the wayside. It's Alter Ego that have been peppering up towards them. So you've already lost Rage and Ocio, and it just leaves the triple threat of the Japanese squad left alive, closely grouped, all jumping inside of the vehicle, though, losing a ton of HP. Zone going to start to push them back out and take some of that space away from Alter Ego. They've set up just on the ridge here, and this is a triple threat now. A7 are coming in as well, Blank. I think the gloves are coming off. This is going to be a bit of a boxing match.
Absolutely, you're not wrong here whatsoever. For A7, Alter Ego, as well as Reject, they're going to be struggling to get out of this situation alive. And I think at this point in time, it's more about the elimination points. But Alpha 7, this is a bit more snappier. You know, they're heading up towards the northern edge, towards the ridge, to try and cut off both of these teams, acquire some elimination points in the process to make it easier to get into the circle going forward. Speed the circle, heads towards that northern side. This really does cause now problems for a lot of these teams down towards this fielded zone with little to no compounds in it. The one that is the main focus point is Loops' compound over towards that northeast side. If they get a northeast shift on this circle, just a winning position. But in the meantime, every single team, they want to control the ridge on the left.
going to be a fight for survival, it seems. Then right now we're seeing the clash going down. I8 spraying and hoping that they'll be able to smoke everyone that's coming up through this stairwell. Blade goes for the quick readjustment, tiptoeing his way around, low on HP. Re-aggression comes out as Kishu will find the snapshot, hitting the head and stopping him in his tracks. Now playing field medic to get the rest of the team back up and see if he can save their bacon. So numbers thinned here, a few of our squads starting to lose manpower as the fights are kicking off across the battleground, it seems. Even Stalwart now losing one as they're down to a triple threat.
Yeah, it's never easy holding this Ridge side because this team is filled with absolute giga gamers, right? Mega minds of the PUBG mobile scene. Everyone knows that this Ridge is going to be so important to hold, right? You could hold down towards the eastern edge of it, try and play around that little hill that on the other side, but so many teams know they have to fight for their lives here. So we're going to have a lot of players going down and very quickly. In the meantime, A7, they move in towards Zia, and it's an absolute bloodbath right now as Carrillo sends in, takes down Shopper, picks up some shopping of his own as he picks up as much loot as possible from this building, and that's Zia out.
Gone again. I've had some really unlucky games over the course of the past 2 days. It's felt like just haven't been able to find too much to add any real points to their tally. Dead last at the minute with 11 being what they've been able to accrue. Falcons, best team in the world, slightly further ahead, 25 points to their name. So let's see where this goes from here then. Falcons are on screen at the minute, just ahead of Bra Esports. Oh, hello. Rosemary tuning in. He's got one across onto Gladiators, Blank.
He's completely split off as well, he's Matic, so it's not like he's getting back up again, leaving Tixi all on his lonesome. And I think really at that point, you just regroup back up with Tixi. Mad Balls are in, takes down the remainder of Reject. What a send in, like the cavalry. I mean, at this point in time, it's going to be very hard to get Tunica back up on his feet. You'd either have to carry him, but with BRA looking down towards this side of the hill, it's going to be carnage for the Mad Balls as they all get picked to pieces. For Tunica, instantly has to hit the bandage on stage 4. We're heading into stage 5 as well, so Zerich is most likely down. Chua will find Rosemary, but in the meantime, it will be Tixi going down on the south side. So Gladiators, again, not another good game for them, but another decent rotate, another decent attempt at getting points. And as long as they continue having this mentality going to day 3 and day 4, I do think there is a chance for them to get into the survival stage.
You'd hope so. You'd hope so, man. It feels like there's definitely a lot of talent there. Just needs to blossom a little bit. Just need to see them delivering. And at the minute, who is going to deliver here? This is the last game of Erangel for the day. Following this, we've got 2 more games, both of them being on Miramar. So opportunities to secure points getting lower and lower as today ticks on by. After this, there'll be 2 more days of competition for Group Green. Oh, nades coming out though, Blank. And that's going to be obscene. Red face as well. Look at him. That killer instinct's kicked in. He knows that he can aggress now. Utility in the back pocket as well, but he's taken a hefty hit, Blank. Second guesses it. Tries to backpedal, but Tiamba, they hold their ground. The cornfield is burning, but they're hotter.
You're right. He should have just held his ground there in that situation. Backing off was not the right play. Yes, he had the angles coming through from Misery and Zuxi, but they're really struggling to hit this one out. I like this from Loops, right? You know, this is a winning compound they currently have on the northeast side, but they hear themselves a third party. They send down towards the south, try and clean it up. They want the game to be easier for themselves in the long run, and they're not afraid to take some risks to make that happen. In the meantime, BRA, top 6, will take down Fleek, last remaining member coming through for the Mad Balls, and once again, we're seeing BRA rev themselves up for another good game because they didn't go to Pachinki.
That's all it took. The one adaptation. Not sticking to that over-arrogance, not sticking to that confidence of we need our primary drop. All it took was a couple of small adjustments, and already they're starting to actually find opportunities to amass points. Is it too little, too late? Only time will tell. They have to set the pace in every game and try and project themselves as far as they can over the course of the next couple days. And you can see with the spacing here, they found a few opportunities to backstab and deal damage onto Stalwart, at least softening them up once again. Even Icy eating bullets with the UMP from a distance as he's left in a bit of a rough spot. And Kane's got good eyes on him as well. Relatively nice lay of the land from the high ground they've got here. They know they can't be flanked from the back with their backs turned towards the blue. And they've got a little bit of map geometry. So it's not looking too bad for Bra right now, Blank.
Yeah, I mean, Kane has to keep tabs on quite a few things at the moment, which is why he's hurrying Topsy up towards his position, right? He needs him to hold over towards Falcons whilst he can spot down towards Stalwarts, clean out the rest of those players. DX out, kind of a surprising turn of events there, considering they were able to get up towards that top side. Sorry, that was Pmgc Evos. We've both got quite demonic logos. It's a problem for me at the moment.
Yeah. I feel you on it.
I'm okay with that because this does mean that eventually we might have the BRA DX rematch in this match, which is always lovely to see. And we'll see if BRA can, in fact, come out on top this time, regain some of that pride, some of that confidence, some of the glory into the PMGC League stage. Alpha 7, though, comfortably sat on this northern edge. Loops took a bit of a risk. They took a knock because of it, and Tiamba still pushing forward. It's just QZZ, though, and Ayala desperately trying to keep his boy alive.
Ayala. We've been saying it all day, but specifically yesterday as well, he was really good when it came down to hitting a mark when he needed to. In this instance, prioritizes dealing damage towards the vehicles, blowing up the engine block, making it usable. So Tiamba can't find a quick rotate. Nade? Oh, look, that was actually pretty clean. Thought he was going to get it through the window there, Blank. Straight back at damage, though. These are filthy peaks. Look at the way that he's crouching into this as well. It's like a rhythm game.
I mean, QZZ is not one to be ever underestimated. This lad played on Nova back in the day was an absolute killer for them. Finally down to the barest edge of damage, and they can get some more of their lads back up in action. So Tiamba go out with 3 eliminations, but valiant attempt there from QZZ. Some sick little angles, some sick little peaks coming out from that dude. Kane's up on top right now on the roof trying to gather some more information, and they firmly have the southwest edge. Loops obviously do now have to leave, and Stalwart, despite everything, still have 2 players into this match. Again, still continuing to chunk away at those placement points. DX though, did they just love the Shack or something? It's like, is this their like MO Shack gameplay?
Well, it's the Love Shack, Blank.
I mean, they're all in there. They're chilling.
Yeah, B52 in right now, living it large. Let's see how long they're going to be content though. Is there going to be a new landlord in town? Someone's going to come in, slam the lease down, tell them they're being evicted. We'll find out right now. A bit of a move as you've got Kane jumping in the vehicle, having a cruise, trying to draw the attention onto him, planting seeds of doubt in their minds. Tops, he has been absolutely menacing in some of our games, posting unbelievable damage numbers, really quick with it, absolutely slick in the 1v2s, and he's got backup as well. Oh, it's the man you'd want. Nurzed still alive and kicking in the back line. Pin pulled on a grenade, looking to instigate a fight. Kakali just trying to understand and assess where exactly everyone is. Meanwhile, we can see the Love Shack still in play for DX as Loops are on the move.
Pushing through to that eastern edge. I think a lot of teams understand that there likely is going to be one team at least with 4 or 3 players over on that eastern side. So a lot of eyes towards Loops at the moment. It will be pretty tough to get through, and they're looking to push down towards DX's shack, which is apparently owned by a landlord, which I feel bad about, right? Which landlord is renting out shacks these days? I mean, it is the Love Shack, to be fair. Quite a piece of property indeed. Revo, though, comes out from that top side and will put down one of the players coming through from Loops. Ayala is out.
It's a good first no. Top still just lurking, buying his time as well. We're getting ever closer to the possibility of Bra Esports path eventually crossing DX. Maybe they're the secret landlord. Maybe it was their property the whole time. We'll see. Is the lease in the back pocket?
Whip it out. demand recompense for coming anywhere near to them. They are on the outside of the circle, though, so they will have to finally go out on an outing from the Love Shack itself. It is in a ditch too, so getting out of here will mean they'll have to have eyes in the back of their head, and all players have to be swiveling that head 360, see if they can get it done. Surprisingly, I think Loops has got quite far into this game. I thought there would be way more players looking over towards their direction. There's been a serious stalemate between both of these teams over towards BRA and Stalwart and DX. Nice shots from Chief, though. The Chieftain seriously bringing the pain, bringing the thunder in these matches so far. Levi's got barely 2 steps outside of his home before he got taken down.
Ooh, he's trying to crawl back to safety as well, but denied as Chief shuts him down with the big nades, blowing him to bits and stopping him in his tracks. Nurzed, he's just been waiting, dinner plate loaded, ready to unload and stick a fork in him if they peek out. There's first contact, big damage done. Backs off for a quick nade as well, lines up the arc on it, hopes that it will be right on target. As it lands in, perfect.
His aim is squeaky clean. The arcs and his grenades are insane. Disgusting stuff, leaving Tops to deal with BRA all on his lonesome. This is terrified of DX. Go out with nothing but a sound. As still Stalwart battling back against many different teams in the lobby. Smoke's being let out at the moment to try and provide a base of cover to get Tops back up. BRA, they've got bigger things to deal with as A7 starts to swarm in the distance. They've got a nice lineup here. We asked for more from this team, and they're starting to deliver like a postman on a Monday.
The letterboxes are open, and he is pasting them straight in. First class delivery. Talking about first class as well, the reset from Stalwart is pretty A1. The fact that you've been able to revive Tops, get the smoke down, play off the fact that you know the attention of Bra has been taken by A7 pushing in from the side. And this is quite the regional clash we've got going on here as well, with both of our LATAM sides in play. The big boys from Brazil on both Loops and A7 coming out to try and deal some deathly blows. That's going to be an aggressive play style going into the final circle here. Limited numbers across the board as well, Blank. A7 is the only one with 3 players alive and kicking. Nurzed, though, we know he's a one-man army. He basically counts for 2, but he's going to be left black and blue on the contact as he's overwhelmed as Bright Esports finish him. Take down Stalwart, whittle us down to 3.
Yeah, BRA sensed the looming threat of A7 on the distance. As soon as they got that knock as well, they decided it was high time just to send it in and show them what BRA is made out of. Stalwart goes down with nothing but a sound there. Nurzed not able to stand up to them. Senab does find Cardozin though with a lovely little nade, and Chief, I think he just wants to secure this second place, looking over towards the 2 players from BRA. 3 players for A7. It's seriously doable for any of these squads at the moment. Chief could pull off something absolutely crazy. I wouldn't be surprised to see it with the way he's been playing today.
Something's changed though for A7. They're starting to kick it into second gear. The way they're playing, it's a little bit more aggressive. They're taking fights, they're swinging into these encounters, and it seems that they want to lop their head off. They want to claim success on this one. Chief trying to stay alive and keep his nose clean. Nades detonating all around him. How far can you push this? Can Chief somehow steal away? An upset on this one. Here's the first contact. Goes for the peek in versus Bra. Drawing the attention as well now, Blank. Now the other squad is also going to hone in on this. A7 are aware of what's going on. Follow up on the repeat doesn't work. Coursera shuts it down. All thrown into this then. A 1v1 towards the finish.
And it will be A7 to take themselves another little victory here. Finally picking one up for themselves. Great stuff for them. They're super pleased with it. It's a much better game for them as well. I think that they've been experiencing this all day today, where for all their games, it's just not felt as good as it did yesterday. And they've just shored up a lot of those problems, which I think were just mainly based in the macro, right? Their gun skill is good. They can trust themselves on that. They just need to hit those points a little bit quicker. here. I think the way they set themselves up there on the north side of that ridge too was just really quite nice. Loop set themselves up for a good game. If that went over towards that northeast side, I think that could have been absolutely a Loop's win. I also respect the fact that as soon as they see the circle, not moving towards them and leaving even their compound still in, right? But they expect it to move away. They start clearing out players down towards the south side to give them a better chance of getting into that game. It's really nice seeing these two Brazilian teams step up massively into this tournament.
No, it is. It's sick that we got them both in the final circle on that one. But, you know, like you're saying, over the course of the entire event, we've seen a lot from them that's been impressive. We've seen individuals popping off. We've seen the team as a whole playing some great PUBG Mobile. And I think it's been very fun to see the different sorts of flavor that both of them have brought out. You know, there was a lot of word on the street that A7 would be a powerhouse. I was hoping to see some good signs from Loops, and both teams have delivered. So we couldn't really ask for more. Better for Bra Esports as well. That's got to be a talking point, right, Blank? They've given up the ego challenge of constantly fighting for control of Pmgc, and it has worked wonders for them. They're getting points now.
And that's what they need desperately. And what we need desperately as well is the beautiful boys over on the desk to break this one all down.
Brazil, here we go, man. Alpha 7 gets the win. Hey, you guys predicted it at the start of the day, and it finally happened. I mean, man, we're starting to see Brazil pop off here as the day goes on, Kalars.
It was a matter of time. It was a matter of time, and here they are. I mean, likewise, Loops was also able to survive very long into this game, but Alpha 7 towards the end, controlling that northwest side of these circles and being able to kind of greet any comer to their terrain very strongly. I gave them a little run for the money towards the end. I thought maybe it could have gone their way, but nope. Alpha 7 on lockdown.
If you're very silent right now, you can just hear like Seven Worlds Gaming screaming like, oh, there you go. You can hear it. Oh, yeah. Is Seven? He's still there? What? But yeah, what a presence. We're having really similar echoes to last year, right, Hotjix, where we saw Brazil on the first day of the grand finals, first, second, third place. And we expect Influence Rage to also do well in their group. So, man, we've got top contenders from the region and another 20 points on board. And finally, the win has been converted. Loops and Alpha 7 are just making Brazil proud.
Oh, yeah, they are, man. I'll tell you, one team that's always making everybody proud of Stalwart. It's so crazy to see them just consistently put points on the board, even when you think they're done for, right? They still stack 10 points. It's ridiculous.
It's just Top and the Z is like, Top, you're going to clear that team. The Z, you're going to clear that team. Got it. We're going to 1v4 both of us together at the same time. And it actually works out. They survive, Kalaris, I would say, way longer than many of us would initially expect, because especially they hold on to that utility really late so they can just get some strong angles, smoke out to go for the res too. So they are very smart as to how they use their resources to just make into, it seems like top 5 every time. When they do not get a win, it's a top 5. I don't know how it keeps happening.
Similar to the circle from the last game, it's silly. All right, that's it. That's what I'm going to leave it at.
It's silly. Yeah, I think that's a good point to leave it at. That's ridiculous. I mean, look at that. Still in first place, but now we're seeing Brazil catch their tail. Look at that. Loops in second, Alpha 7 launching themselves up to third. It's just starting to get intense here. Now I'm going to shift on over into Miramar. Now, one team I'm particularly proud of, right, is Bra. They gave up the hot drops, and look at them go here, Max.
Yeah, I mean, they're happy. They gave up the hot drop here on Miramar. They won the hot drop against Pasija Evo, so they're like, okay, we got our position. We can actually go for the normal rotation. And I mean, Kalaris, we were talking about this team, right? I mean, they're your personal dark horse in this tournament, right? Is that if you give this team an opportunity to reach the late game scenarios, mid to late game, they are constantly going to get those eliminations. If you give them a strong spot with the fragging power, this team can put on full display these matches. They are a team that can come out consistently with high eliminations and can also wrap up games. We can see it sometimes. So I'm telling you, for first time in PMGC, it took a bit of time to get there, but this kind of level of play style is enough, I would say, to head at least into the last chance.
Oh, Max is so excited. He's so close to his camera. It's amazing. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, my dark horse for Group Green is Bra. Like, if you think about back to championships, it felt like every single game they were able to get 8, 9 eliminations, even if they're going out early. This team knows how to fight. It's just about, clearly, them going into the mid to late game to find those fights. In those early scenarios and Erangel and stuff like that, they met their match in DXavier. There was no way that they were going to be able to convert something from it. So they had to take the mature step to move away and then find those mid to late game fights. And they are doing, and it is successful so far.
Hey, it's starting to wipe the lobby. And if you guys want to wipe the lobby in PUBG Mobile, you got to go and check out the official smartphone for Pmgc, the Infinix GT10 Pro, a phone created specifically for esports players. Man, this is starting to heat up here, and we're going to get even hotter into Miramar. So, man, Bra clutching it up, Stalwart on top. I mean, who knows who's the next team that could possibly rise through the ranks here, Max?
Okay, I'm gonna go on a negative right now. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, we've been on a very big hype train right now. I'm gonna go on a negative. A lot of good teams have been rising up recently. Where the hell is Alter Ego? I'm just gonna tell you that much. They have fallen off from that podium finish at the start of day one, and they have not been able to make it far in these matches. I mean, if you're looking at today's results alone, we are talking for Alter Ego 11th, 12th, and an 8th position. I want to see a little bit more from Alter Ego heading in Miramar here, hopefully.
Max hates Alter Ego. Yeah.
Why not? I like them. I like Rosemary. He's cool. He's a cool guy.
Cool guy. All right. Well, guys, we got a lot more cool plays coming up in just a minute. We'll be right back after this break. And we're back. Here we go. Gonna head into Miramar now. This is where things are starting to get intense. Kalaris, you know, we saw Bra give up the hot drop and finally have success, right? Do you think we're gonna see it here in Miramar?
I think that they're going to be able to rotate from Picardo quite happily. I think that they're going to be able to take some of those decent mid-game fights once again. They're good in these foothills on Miramar where you have so many circles kind of focusing down on. So I expect good things from them to be able to bump out of at least that bottom 5 elimination spot here in Group Green.
Well, let's see if they can do it. We're about to head into Miramar. Let's go ahead and take it on over to our casters.
All right, all done with the Erangels, moving into the Miramar madness. 2 games left to go. For the second day of Group Green blank. I'm interested to see how this is going to go, man. It feels like Miramar from yesterday. It's kind of a bit of a blur already.
Yeah, dude, I think it was definitely an interesting couple of matches we saw in Miramar. They went by really fast, honestly, because we got some pretty quick winners on the board, and we saw Stalwart able to take their 3rd chicken dinner on this map. I'm genuinely curious, just as much as the boys, about like how well is BRA going to be able to do on this map, because obviously yesterday they started to perform just a little bit better, a little bit tighter on Miramar itself. But today they've actually had some good games on Erangel, right? They're coming into this feeling pretty decent about themselves. They're feeling fairly happy. And this is a great moment for them to keep pumping up those numbers because they have climbed significantly, honestly, over the past couple of games. If you remember, they were pretty much dead 16th at one point. Now they're 11th, technically into that survival stage with 42 points. So they're not too far behind a lot of these teams. Honestly, though, like the guys on this were saying, Jackie, I think my main concern at the moment is Alter Ego. With one chicken dinner, the only team really to drop so low from that top 3 position down to 9th place now at 55 points. So really not accruing much of anything today. Despite, look at that, Rosemary actually doing quite a lot of damage for the team.
That's what I mean. It does feel like, Alter Ego, they're being able to find themselves in situations where they should find points, they should find eliminations. They're dealing damage, they're surviving late into games. I just don't quite know what's gone wrong for him. Yesterday maybe the difference was there was a little bit more backup as well supporting Rosemary. Today it does kind of feel like at times it is just sort of Rosemary that's being the one to sort of put bullets down range and give them a leg to stand on. Who knows, mate? Maybe we'll see a change here. Change of scenery, change of mindset, come in fresh, not for the Mad Bulls. Very unlucky. Straight in, not ideal.
That is super unfortunate. I mean, Mad Bulls have had to go for a bit of a long drop here as well because obviously they dropped down towards Impala here on Miramar. So they've had to really go for the long parachute across. They dropped down in some unfortunate areas around Malise who have just chased them down. Currently, Zerich is even being chased down by some of the players there on Malise Esports. I don't think that he's going to make it out alive anytime soon either. So pretty crazy for them overall. Mad Bulls looking over towards Pasija Evos in the distance. It's a tough game. It's a tough game. They had to alternate a little bit here, drop over towards the north side of Los Leones. Not likely to get over towards their original drop spot. The vehicles in this area are pretty sparse, so fairly rough overall. For BRA, though, this is the game to watch for them. I think if you've got focus on anyone, it should be this team because they are certainly making the climb at the moment. And Gladiators dropping back down to 13th place. That little bit of fire we saw from them early on seems to be dimming, sputtering, just embers left remaining.
And also, I mean, when you look at it for what it is, right, on our right-hand side, Skyscraper, you can see with Bright Esports all the way down in 11th for 42 points. If they wanted to try and overtake, let's say, Reject, that's only about the difference of 20 points or so. It really isn't that big of a gap, right? It's close enough where, yeah, you pick up a chicken dinner, you play a great game, it could be there. So the possibility to shake things up, especially towards day 3, day 4, for some of the teams that start to get all of the problems solved, figure out any of the issues with adjustments they need to make with their playstyle, with even confidence for some of our Tides. Going into day 3 and day 4, there's a chance for some big leapfrogging to happen. But that's something we can speculate more towards the future on. For now, we'll stick to the facts. We'll stick with what we know and what's been happening over the course of the day. Get the lay of the land here in terms of where our teams have spread out from. Gladiators a little bit more fragmented as well. They've been a little bit more willing to play the buddy system. Meku and Matic have looked like they've had kind of that drive back to instigate some of the fights. It'd be interesting to see if Mad Bulls can really turn this one around as well, because of course you've been hit again with a massively unlucky start. You lose a player from the get-go. You're feeling probably uncomfortable. It's Miramar. It's taken a while to get here. What can they do about it? First team to lose a player. Let's see if they can reset, because they need some points, man. Not in a bad spot overall. 10th place is 10th place, but they're not really gaining, blank. That's what worries me. It feels like, you could stagnate quite easily.
Yeah, they had that little pop-off, right, and they were able to accrue some points, and that's great news for them. But at the moment, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place because they can't really move down towards Los Leones to loot because I8 is a team that loots on that northern side, so they have to push through them to get to the south and have a little bit of looting capability down there. I'm also pretty sure that they're just out of vehicles, with Malise Esports taking one of the few vehicles that was found by the team on Zerich, which I imagine they would have used and got in as far to head over towards Impala and pick up some more of the Mirados in that area. That would have been great news for them. And luckily, now they're left without a paddle in this game and are just having to live on with pretty much just scraps of loot here. It would be really unfortunate for Mad Bulls to go down early in this game because they just have a bare nothing to work with going into the future. Pmgc Evos looks like they're just completely surrounding them right now. And it's going to be super hard to leave because the doors are just locked on all fronts. Some of these other teams, though, Alter Ego, fairly decent pathing from El Azhar. They've got a lot of space to play with, considering of this. We had this standoff between Pmgc Evos, IA, as well as Mad Bulls. So a lot of area around Minas Generalas is just open.
Tuleka firing off some warning shots here, hoping to get a connection, but a bullet drop not going to be favoring him into this one. So no trade back, at least early enough yet to give them anything really to work with. Easy pickings for Loops, as they seem pretty happy over towards Graveyard, just picking up whatever they want. Loops have had a good day of it as well, man. It's pretty wild when you think about just how well Stalwart have been playing Blank over the past 2 days. And you're only about 20 points away from being able to lap them, potentially catch up with them. So Loops really having the proof in the pudding here in terms of the chicken dinners and also just the sheer amount of eliminations and placements they've been finding into the past few days.
Yeah, I mean, you got a team like Stalwart who just look animated and lively right into these games. You can see the moments that they're impressing in. And then there's Loops, really, who is just quietly confident, just plinking away at the pickaxe at that big old mine vein of the points over towards the PUBG Mobile tournament that we're currently in of Pmgc. And they just made their way up to second place by doing it. And I think we haven't had too many comments about them because there isn't many mistakes to highlight from this team, right? It just feels like they're a very, very consistent team that makes the right moves a lot of times. You know, they don't have the most insane fraggers on the team. We have seen some way better players in this lobby already show themselves up and just speak to their own talent within this lobby. But as a team, they're just fantastic. They don't have too many flaws on them. And I think some of the positions that they take, they love playing these high ground positions. They love setting themselves up for success. And it's worked wonderfully. You know, it's taken a little bit of time because that's typically how it does work for a team that just plays consistently, plays to win these games, plays to get those placement points and just a good amount of eliminations each game. But now they're second place. And like you say, in a position to take over versus Stalwart.
And that would be impressive, man. It really would be if they were able to, you know, have a huge game of it here. Because remember, obviously, you know, this is still one game away from the last game of the day here. We have another Miramar after this. So opportunities to accrue the last few points of the day are there. You just have to write the history books. You've got to be the one that put the best foot forward and walk away with any additional benefit. All the squads on the move now as the zone will adjust itself. We start to see everyone swarming down, trying to get center circle as quick as possible. Awful lot of opportunities for clashes here. Quest, it always feels like they get unlucky on their rotates and they are thrown into a fight that 9 times out of 10 they don't fancy being in. At least here, being able to match the pace, seem to have a relatively clear pathway into the zone. Gladiators on the move as well as they'll start to arrive on the scene.
Yeah, I think for Quest, they've got a pretty base operations that they go for every single game. And I think that's kind of what's putting them in some awkward positions. Like, there does seem to be some good adjustments from a lot of these teams in terms of how they want to rotate in, what's going to be open, how they want to play it out. And I think that Quest does have that to a rudimentary degree in terms of like stage 1, stage 2. But once it gets beyond that, I think that's where they really start to struggle just a little bit of like being able to work with things on the fly, figure out what rotations would work in this situation. That I just think some of the other teams in this lobby have a better grasp of. One of those teams in particular I think is very good at this, and again I'm as surprised as Kale is about this team, which is DX Xavier. They're very good at identifying some really good rotational paths in that end game, where a lot of teams do struggle to find their way in. DX Xavier's been looking for these decent little avenues to be able to just slide their way in, find a good spot and play from there. One thing I don't like about that team at the moment, though, is just the insistence to drop into one position, play a shack, and just be really, really bullheaded about it. I just want to see a bit more aggression from that team because they've got great players on side. In the meantime, Mad Bulls finding Lewis, so there's a bit of revenge there from Malise. Again, right now we've got Quest on our screen versus Reject. Kante goes for one, doesn't find it.
Reject trading at least versus
Wow.
Quest here
That's
relatively efficiently, man. Kante, yeah, that's not what you want. Feeling like Dante on that one as he was going through the 7 rings of hell, burning brightly from the Molotov. Ooh, nade straight to the face as well. Poser probably almost knocked off balance from that one. Just ate the grenade straight to the face. It has at least slowed down the clash versus Marbles, but Marbles, they look a bit hesitant about it. Instead trying to play on the angles and look for an opportunity to peek. They're taking so much damage, Blank. This is turning on its head. Madballs, they could fall through the fingertips quite quickly on this one, unless Fleek or someone can do something miraculous. He is just firing out warning shots, peppering into the walls, dealing damage to the cement, but not cementing an opportunity for Madballs to get a grasp on this one. And they've taken so much time with it. They've been able to get back into a better angle. Fleek, at least on the cross there, hits one, and that's an important shot to find.
Yeah, really important, because at that point in time, it felt like Malice Esports was going for a reset on that fight. So able to take out another one of those players gives Madballs a little bit of an extra edge here in this fight. This is the same team that took down their main man Zerich earlier on in this game to remove that vehicle from them. The fact they've been able to stand up tall again and Malice Esports continue to push the issue, and Madballs refuse to be pushed around, but one goes down and Kissu looks for another. One player remaining, it's just Fleek.
Around the corner, bouncing into action. Quick switch into the secondary, and Fleek finds the damage, shutting down Kissu, but he is still in a 1 versus 1. Still in a position where if he makes a single wrong move, it could all go wrong. Here's the repeat from the right-hand side. We'll see you later. Looking to stop him now, pushing in, getting close, just pre-firing on the peak with the SMG. He's trying to play off the back of the hill, giving him timing to work with. He's literally giving him timing for this, Blank. He's going to be able to get the full hill back in. Fleek can reset the fight from this.
That is massive for them. CEO later backs off a little bit, gets back round, but the building, this Vector is absolutely deadly. Used to be a really well-used weapon in PUBG Mobile back in the day.
Whoa.
Does a lot of damage very quickly, but CEO later able to hit those headshots, just puts him down with the M4. That is big news for Malice Esports, but what a great hold off by Fleek. Always been kind of the solo god of the team, but it just wasn't meant to be there at the end. But again, really impressive stuff in the meantime. A7 lost 2 players to Gladiators, by the way, down towards the southwest side and via Damar, which I didn't expect at all. Currently, they're the furthest players from the circle itself, so Gladiators do need to get a bit of a move on. But you know what? That is still good news. Taking down the winners of that last match always feels good.
Certainly a better position to be in. Some interesting fights have been happening on this one. It's been a bit different to what we saw on Miramar yesterday with the way the squads are playing it. A little bit more calm and collected as well for some of our sides. Gladiators roaming together as well. Obviously lost a little bit of stature, as they are down to just the 3 members. 2 eliminations at least though, so they've hit a couple of shots. They're a little bit warm into this one. Loops have got control of a compound here as well, and that's Bra Esports that are just ahead of them, with Falcons off to the wayside and what looks to be some of the remaining members of DX also thrown into the thick of it. So could be a bit of a rough encounter on that one. Bra Esports forced to fight some familiar foes if that does kick off. Meanwhile, STE on the move again as well, trying to keep all players alive whilst Falcons pepper bullets their way from the blue.
Yeah, they've been behind the Gladiators for a while. I wouldn't be surprised if one of those knocks and flushes on Gladiators did come at the hands of STE. This is a fortunate circle for both Falcons, Stalwart and Gladiators. And luckily, Nerza takes a knock on the way into the circle. You can see some of the engagements happening on the screen. Stalwart really don't have the best of positions to playing in. They would have loved to have gone for a full-on crash towards this building. Found themselves a bit of a safe haven to work with going forward. But it's Matic to finish off Nerzud off in the distance. Good shots from him.
Taking down Nerzed at the best of times as well probably feels like a bit of a win at this point.
Yeah.
Because of like how sick he's been, man. If you're starting to clash against him, you're probably thinking, all right, sweet, here we go. Getting into the grip of things.
Fight's possible now.
Yeah, we can build from this.
It's doable. It's basically a 4v4 now that Nerzed's gone. This is okay. But But yeah, so I think for a lot of these teams right now, it's a bit of an awkward circle, honestly, heading up towards that northwest side, pulling away from Los Leones. Not a lot of teams fully committed in. Alter Ego probably the most trapped right now, but there is a decent rotational path outwards. It's a question of whether Alpha 7 spots some of these players. I think Rosemary has a good idea of where one of them is, at least. He spots out Carrillo. There is some shots from the sides. He has to edge himself back behind this tree, but quickly gets a lot more shots at him. Potato's just going to send direct in. How is he alive, bro?
I don't know how he's been able to stay alive for so long here. Even now, finally goes down. As Alter Ego will at least be able to clean up onto him, jumping back into the vehicle and giving up the goose on that one. Feeling a little bit more relieved. Senab, though, he's got the DBS and he is clearing out the lower levels. Quick flick as he goes through the door. Oh, look at them arriving one by one. The cavalry is on the scene and they want to stop Senab dead in his tracks, taking him down in 14th place as A7 are out on Miramar.
It was all just way too much for Senab there at the end. Even if he is godly with that DBS, you just cannot handle versus a team that understands versus a shotgun like that. You just got to flood into the room, right? One by one, and then just spray down. It works out. You're likely going to lose at least one fella from the mix, but at least you get the fight finished. Now, Alter Ego, they look to set their sights